And joining us now, the chairman of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, Republican Congressman Ed Royce of California. Congressman Royce, thanks for being on this morning. You have said this is the first opportunity we have to force Vladimir Putin's hand. How do you suggest we do that?
Well, this is our opportunity really to lead here and get the international will behind an effort that would put sector sanctions on Russia. But there's another thing the United States could do, and that is answer Ukraine's request for gas, for LNG. We should have a long-term strategy, and we'd have to change the president's position on this, but one where we sell LNG for the future into the market in Ukraine in order to replace the Russian gas. The way in which we can do it, obviously, is to use the angst, the concern in Russia today, about Russia's actions today in Europe and around the world, in order to get the kinds of sanctions that would force Putin's hand.
We could certainly operate on a number of different levels, Mark Halperin, that being one of them.
Absolutely. And we'll see what happens now. There's certainly increased pressure for that. Congressman, can the United States, should the United States have normal, productive relationships with Russia as long as Putin is in power?
Absolutely, but at the same time, we should be pointing out that Putin is using social media right now to recruit every skinhead and malcontent around Russia and get them into eastern Ukraine. I was in eastern Ukraine, and I had an opportunity to talk there to the Russian-speaking population. And their concern was that in what Vladimir Putin is doing in bringing in these outside forces from Russia, especially these top 4 commanders now in eastern Ukraine who are all Russian. They are not Russian-speaking Ukrainians. They are ethnic Russian citizens who are now calling the shots. And the group that they're working with are very poorly trained. When you look at these separatists who they took, we know, our military intelligence knows that these separatists were taken into Russia to be trained in how to use these SA-11s, and they're poorly trained, so they've now shot down a jetliner. Their conduct out there, as you saw, as they were using the credit cards, as they were taking wedding rings off of people, they were, trying to pull out the pieces of metal from the SA-11s so that they could sanitize the crime scene. These are the actions right now that really have created around the world this revulsion about what Putin is doing. We need to lead and focus that energy into pressuring and leveraging Putin out of eastern Ukraine.
Yes.
If we keep the weapons out, yes. No more weapons into eastern Ukraine.
Mike.
So, Congressman, is it time to take that intelligence that you referred to take what we have already been publicized, but to take the intel about when the shot was made, where the missile was shot from, when it hit the plane, and go to Samantha Power at the UN and have her do it the way Adlai Stevenson did it in 1962 at the Cuban Missile Crisis, to hold Russia's actions up for the world to see?
What a great suggestion, because Samantha Power has been very, very powerful in the way in which she has made that case at the UN. And yes, it's very reminiscent to that moment with Adlai Stevenson, and I think we have the evidence now for us to lay out, for her to lay out, but perhaps it's more powerful if we do it in tandem with the Dutch, with the Australians, with the Malaysians, with others that have lost so many on that flight. I would suggest we up it a notch, and jointly those 10 or 11, 15 countries present that evidence and lay it out, so it's really the international community, but Samantha should take the lead.
All right, Congressman Ed Royce, thank you very much.